Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Welcome, everybody. It is Friday, July 5th, 2019, and you are listening to The Right of the People. Hope everybody had a good Independence Day and everybody still has 10 fingers. Got to be careful with them fireworks. Not that anyone that listens to this show would violate any local laws and set off fireworks when they're not supposed to or anything like that, because, we're all law-abiding citizens and everything here, right? So glad that you guys could join us tonight. We got Roll Call with us today. How you doing, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Good to be back on the show.
Oh, man, good to have you. But remember, man, as always, family first. So don't ever feel bad about not showing up because you got to take care of you, man, before all else. Speaking of showing up, glad to see everybody out there in the chat here on the YouTube side. We got Jason Stewart showing up early. OHIO. Got Gun Loving Grandpa out there. Black Cat Outdoors. Vanessa Kitty. Warsaw Patriot. Snob's Wife. Glad to see you guys out here. Over on the Gun Channel side, because we are in fact simulcast over on Gun Channels, which is the water cooler to the internet's Second Amendment community. If you are not a member over there at gunchannels.com, you should be. It's free, and you can find someone to talk with and something to talk about, Second Amendment related or otherwise, 24/7, 365. They never shut down. Go check it out. Got a few things to talk about tonight. We can go over if we have to, because I do not work tonight. This is my weekend off. So, yeah, that's a good thing. Planning to hit the range a little bit tomorrow with my daughter, if the weather cooperates. We'll see. She moved out on her own and needs to get a little bit more practice. Needs some refresher on shooting the Smith & Wesson Shield I gave her for her 21st birthday. Hopefully she'll go get her classes done and get her concealed carry license shortly. But before that, she needs a little bit more range time. So we're going to go out and do that. I think I'll start her off with the TX22 just to get her back into it, because she hasn't been shooting in a while, and then move her up to the 9mm once she gets a little bit more comfortable with that. That's my plan anyway. We'll see where it goes. Shoot, maybe she won't like the Shield, and I'll have to give her something else, like my beloved Ruger EC9. I really don't want to, because I like that gun, but if she wants it, she'll get it. That's just how it is. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, got a lot of news here in the Second Amendment community this week. Hey, Roosted, how you doing? Those of you in California behind enemy lines already felt the effects of this first story we're going to start. This was from June 30th, 2019 in USA Today. But just keep in mind that this law did go into effect on July 1st. A win for public safety or a government ploy? California set to require background checks for ammo sales. Los Angeles. The bustle inside LAX ammunition on the Friday before Father's Day betrayed the gloom of the outside sky. Employees inside the Los Angeles area gun shop had their hands full chatting with customers who were looking to replenish their ammo supply before July 1st, with some customers spending hundreds of dollars in the process. Why the hurry? That's the day a new state law will require almost all buyers to go through background checks before being able to buy bullets, potentially increasing the amount of time and money it takes to make purchases. Gee, I wonder if that was the whole point. We're probably up by 400% from where we were last year for this past month, and this month in total sales, says Daniel Cash, the store's president. As it is, California has some of the toughest gun laws in the nation. The state bans most assault weapons and restricts the sale and possession of large capacity magazines. There's also a 10-day waiting period prior to the sale or transfer of a firearm, among other restrictions. The passage of Proposition 63, a gun control measure approved, coincidentally, by 63% of California voters in 2016, will strengthen those laws by taking aim at the sale of ammo. Everybody that has a gun knows about the law that's upcoming, Cash says. That's why you see the store being as busy as it is this week for the Father's Day sale. People are stocking up right now, basically. How will it work? The new law, championed by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, a longtime advocate of gun control, is meant to protect the public by keeping ammunition from getting into dangerous hands, the state says. Yeah, because, criminals are going to go get this background check done and go through any waiting periods, just like they already do on firearms, right? Here's how. Customers will have to receive a background check every time they make an ammunition purchase, paying $1 each time. Those who don't already have their information in the Department of Justice's system for these point-of-sale screenings will have to pay up to $20 for an initial screening. Vendors will have to make sure customers aren't on a DOJ list that names people who are prohibited from buying guns for various reasons. For example, committing a felony before selling to them. All ammo sales will have to take place in person. Even online orders will have to be shipped to a licensed vendor store before customers can pick them up. Gun owners and enthusiasts aren't happy, arguing that the new law will cost extra time and money. The biggest question on people's minds is what the process is going to be like and how burdened someone's going to be, whether it's going to take a tremendous amount of additional time or whether it's going to cost them more money, says Alexander Reyes, a manager at Martin B. Redding, a gun shop in Culver City near Los Angeles. Selling semi-automatics. AR-15 advertising speaks to, that's something I forgot to edit out. It was an advertising blurb for another segment. Anyhow, back to the main story. Advocates, though, remain convinced that the inconvenience to law-abiding gun owners is necessary for the public good. This is all about preventing all forms of gun violence and ensuring that we're doing everything we can through a second-long background check to ensure that people with the most significant histories of criminal violence or severe mental health impairments are not able to access guns, says Ari Freilich, the California Legislative Affairs Director for the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence in San Francisco. Gee, because, again, criminals obey the law. If criminals obeyed the law, there'd be no need for this one because they wouldn't be buying guns, would they? But instead, they get their guns and ammunition off the black market, or they steal it. So it has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do at all with gun safety or curbing gun violence, so-called, or anything like that. We all know what it's about. It's nothing more than adding another stumbling block in the way of people from exercising their Second Amendment rights in an effort to continue to marginalize the Second Amendment and eventually get rid of it. In a 2016 op-ed in the Sacramento Bee, Newsom wrote that the new law would treat ammunition sales as gun sales, a measure that, paired with the others in the bill, would help keep guns and ammo out of the wrong hands. Although California has led the nation in gun safety laws, those laws still have loopholes that leave communities throughout the state vulnerable to gun violence and mass shootings. The text of the act, drafted by Newsom, reads, "We can close these loopholes while still safeguarding the ability of law-abiding, responsible Californians to own guns for self-defense, hunting, and recreation." Warsaw, you have you should have had a link sent to you. Hop on. One of those loopholes is the lack of regulations around ammunition purchases, says Amanda Wilcox, the legislation policy chair of Brady, California, a state chapter of the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. Boxes of ammunition are kept in a restricted area at LAX Ammunition on June 14, 2019. The store is one of several that has experienced a surge in sales ahead of the implementation of a new background check law. Boxes of Prior to any of this, no one knew who was selling ammunition or buying ammunition. Ammo sales were completely unregulated, Wilcox says. You can sell ammunition out of your trunk of your car anywhere. Well, gee, you still can. This law doesn't prevent someone from doing jack shit. Yeah, it makes it illegal, but here's a hint. Criminals don't obey the law. Shh, keep that quiet. In other words, Wilcox says the new measure could help prevent individuals who illegally possess guns from being able to purchase ammunition for them while simultaneously alerting vendors and law enforcement. Obviously, we want people who can't pass a background check to not buy ammunition, Wilcox says. The legislation does that. No, it doesn't. All it does is hinder law-abiding people. They're going to get it. Some gun owners, however, insist that the new law does little to address illegal activity while unfairly targeting those who already follow the law. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Anyone who is willing to murder innocent people does not have a regard for laws, clearly, and they're able to cross a border to purchase ammunition and violate existing California laws, says Ryan McDonald, a gun owner from Alameda, east of San Francisco. Due process, saving life. Dang it. There are a lot of things in there I forgot to delete like that. Anyhow, others say the new restrictions will simply encourage gun owners to purchase ammo elsewhere, negatively impacting California vendors. To me, it's just a way for the government to make more money. People are going to go to other places to get what they need, says Kevin McLaughlin of Compton. They're going to get it regardless, and they're just going to go a different way and cut the middleman out. Adding to the stir is the reality that gun shops themselves aren't sure how the new law is going to affect the in-store checkout process. The reality is the California Department of Justice Bureau of Firearms has said that they're not going to unveil the system even to us until July 1st. It sounds like you have to pass it to know what's in it, doesn't it? Reyes says, so even though we have a vague idea of what the process is going to be like, we still don't 100% know because we're not going to have access to the system until July 1st, same as everybody else. Confusion and resistance aside, Reyes hopes the new state law won't greatly affect the average gun owner. While it's unknown how many people in California fall into that category, 3 in 10 adults in the United States own guns for self-defense, hunting, sport shooting, or collecting, according to the Pew Research Center. A valuable tool or an invasion of... the average gun owner is probably not going to be as impacted as they think they're going to be, Reyes says. But ultimately, I think people are going to find the inconvenience and the hassle and the pain to the wallet to be the biggest thing. He adds, there's a lack of concrete information and hearsay and gossip and everything, but it all gets straightened out. It's just a matter of patience and dealing with it. Even if the new law doesn't altogether end gun violence, supporters believe in California's vision to provide a path for other states to follow. We can and should have a conversation about increasing our investments in mental health resources, Frelich says. None of that should also distract us from having a simultaneous conversation about when the person sets out wanting to do violence. It's not an either or. Well, Warsaw, welcome. G, welcome. Glad to see you guys could hop in. Warsaw, you said out there in the chat that you had something to add to this?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Budget.
Sure.
Basically, if you think California's new gun proposals are bad, I have a friend who's from Colombia, the country of Colombia, and he tells me this. You can only have about 38 to 9mm for any pistol out there for any law-abiding civilian to protect themselves. It can't be a 45 or higher. You can't have any AR-15s, AKs, or anything like that. You cannot have any type of rifle. You can only have a shotgun. And get this, any type of ammunition you buy in the country of Colombia, $100. $100 for a 20-pack of ammo. Who wants to pay that? You think California's bad? Go to country of Colombia.
Well, and I see what you're saying, but we're on that road. And that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they actually want to go farther than there, but we're heading that way. As a bit of information to add to this, it's my understanding that the feds have told California that since they issue driver's licenses to illegals, that now you have to have either the new federally compliant ID for this background check for your ammo purchases and firearms, or bring all the documentation that you would require for that ID to you, like birth certificate, social security card, bills that verify your address, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in addition to your California driver's license. So, more stumbling blocks. Gee, how you doing, sir? Glad you could hop in today.
Good, it's hot, but I appreciate the invite. Thanks for the link.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Yeah, you're out there in Arizona, aren't you?
Yep.
Oh, I bet you're boiling out there, man.
You guys can laugh because we get it warm in the winter, but yeah, certainly hot now.
I lived in Phoenix briefly when I was 18. I moved out there for a bit. It was February. It's 92 degrees. I'm chilling in my swimming pool thinking about how cold everybody back home in Ohio was. And then I imagined what August would be like. I came home a little bit later.
That's the perfect way to do it.
It was like, nope, not going to have it. If it's 92 in February, no, I ain't built for August out here.
But without going too far back, I guess I missed the front. I just got back and saw the links. I jumped in, but I missed the front. What happened in California I missed I got the end of?
The ammunition background check law went into effect on July 1st.
Oh, okay. And of course, no system, I'm assuming, to deal with it, just the law to require it.
Well, yeah, they, as far as I know, at least according to this article in USA Today, which admittedly was before the first, so I don't know, that said that even the gun dealers and whatnot didn't have access to the system and had no idea what it was going to be like until the first. So, it could be just the same as, okay, run the NICS check and be done, or it could be something far more convoluted. I don't know. Any of you out there in California, have you had to go do this yet? If so, let me know. Warsaw, are you out there in California?
Thank goodness I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay. So I think Pickle's out there. If you're out there in the chat, let me know if you've had to go through all this garbage yet and what it's like. Anybody out there in California? But yeah, that this is where they want the rest of us to go. And again, it's just it may seem like a small thing. Yeah, okay, you got to have your background check, but Second Amendment does not say shall not be infringed, except for a little bit. A little bit of infringement's okay. No, shall not be infringed, and this is an infringement. Any stumbling block or impediment that is between you and the exercise of your naturally given rights is wrong. At least that's my humble opinion.
The way you just said that,
go ahead.
The way you just said that made me think of it a different way.
Sure,
the rights the rights aren't given to us. I mean, some people say they're given to us by a creator, but they're rights that they're born rights. It's the rights that we like to assume everything has. So when they are suggesting that that's not the case, that the rights are coming from the government, it's as though they're suggesting that our rights come from the government. That's like another deeper, I guess, ominous angle that they, of course, aren't going to focus on. But that might be a way to, or do you think that's a way that you could get through to somebody who's maybe in the middle or on the fence, to focus on it being an attempt to suggest who gives us our rights?
That is certainly one way that I approach it. Absolutely. That's why I try to, I try to say are naturally occurring or are naturally given. And maybe I shouldn't use the word given. Maybe I should simply use naturally occurring rights, because they pre-exist the government. They pre-exist anything. They exist because they're a natural condition. You have the right to defend yourself, which means you have the right to give the tools that are to use the tools that are available to defend yourself. And yeah, if what the government giveth, the government most assuredly can taketh away, and has no compunction about doing so, particularly if they see it as an advantage for them. Coffee and guns and ammo astronomy. I'm in Cali, but I prepared and have not tried since the new law took effect. Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that if I lived there, which, by the way, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen your name out there before. If I'd lived out there, I think I would have stocked up. I probably would have taken out a loan to buy ammo. Actually, I would have borrowed money to buy it just to make sure I was stocked up and wouldn't have to go through all this rigmarole.
I mean, I've always been an advocate of like dollar cost prepping, right? So like every time you go to a gun show, you buy a box of ammo or whatever, it's a good deal. Every time you go to a gun shop and you want to keep them in business and make sure they're there the next time, you buy a box of ammo.
Yep.
Even if you don't need it. And that's how you end up with kind of ammo that you don't have to at the last minute when something imminent is like this, because shortages can happen to all of us. And,
Yep.
Fire at a powder producing factory, we've seen those, and then 9mm for years.
That's what I try to do as well. Every time I go to the gun shop, I'll buy a box of something that I have, some caliber that I stock. I'll buy a box of it just because of what you said. One, it's so I don't have to rush out and do it, and two, so I can help my local gun store stay in business, because I like going 500 yards down the street instead of having to drive 15 miles to go to a gun store. So, yeah. Coffee says credit cards help. Well,
That's what they're for, right? So you can buy something when it's feasible and not when it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's easier to pay for the interest on that than it is to try to acquire it in the future, right?
Yep. If you are new to the show, this is the Right of the People, where I talk about I do some research, and which admittedly usually consists of perusing Breitbart's Second Amendment articles and following leads from there. I try to go directly to the source material and not just rely on Breitbart, although sometimes I do, because sometimes the source material isn't as clear. But anyway, I'll go through, find the source material, present the article to you guys, and then talk about it with my panel of guests and with you in the chat. This is very much a two-way conversation. It's not a radio show. This is interactive. So, if you have something to say, please say it out there in the chat. Otherwise, I won't know you're out there either. Dangerous Freedom, welcome to the show. I don't think I've seen you as well. Mad Sexy, good to see you. Anyway, so moving on from the California stuff, I think that there were some intended consequences there. I don't know if these consequences for New Mexico were intended or not, but they're happening. Walmart will no longer sell guns in New Mexico. This is from KOAT from July 2nd, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Walmart will no longer sell guns in New Mexico, according to an official with the retail giant. The news comes just one day after two new gun laws took effect in the state. Tiffany Wilson, Director of Communications for Walmart, said the new law would require Walmart associates to handle and potentially store handguns and modern sporting rifles, which are types of firearms that Walmart does not sell and associates are not trained to handle or render safe. Unlike a specialty sporting goods retailer where customers expect to see firearms of various types being handled, Walmart customers do not generally expect to see individuals walking through the store potentially carrying multiple firearms, which can lead to confusion and potentially putting both our customers and associates at risk, Wilson said. Wilson also said that Walmart is not currently equipped or designed to conduct background checks for private party transfers until under New Mexico's new firearms law. The new gun laws that went into effect July 1st would require any person buying a gun to go through a background check, whether they purchase from a gun store, neighbor, or friend. The other law would prevent anyone convicted of domestic violence or with restraining orders from purchasing or possessing a gun. Isn't that already federal? Walmart stores in New Mexico will stop selling firearms on July 22nd. So there is an unintended consequence, but I'm sure certainly not unwelcome for the antis there.
I don't know. It's sort of back and forth. I don't know if that's a good story or a bad story. I mean, it's bad that Walmart isn't selling guns, of course, but then all the local gun shops are going to get more business. So some ways I say, who cares what a big box store does, but their justifications were all crazy. They're all over the place. But it almost could be read that that because of they passed this law, what was I going to say? Like if they passed this law, then it scared Walmart. I guess that win is a win for the antis. I was going to say it might not be a win necessarily for the antis, but I guess it does come about to being a win because they win whenever we have less guns, right?
couple interesting ways to look at it. You know, on the one hand, you're right. It will result in more business going to the mom and pops. But I have to wonder how many guns Walmart sells. I imagine that's probably a lot. You know, given the amount of Walmarts that there are and the amount of traffic a Walmart store gets.
But in New Mexico, like how many are there really in New Mexico? There's probably some in Albuquerque, and then maybe a couple in Las Cruces, and maybe something. There's only two towns in Mexico, really. There might be. I don't think there's one in Roswell.
Oh, no. Let me Google.
And then El Paso is, you know, right outside of Las Cruces too. So I just don't know how many Walmarts. I guess what I was thinking is if Walmart is going to look at that law about the universal background checks, I think that's when you said, isn't that federal? It's just that in New Mexico, it sounds like they added new universal background checks. So every transfer now has to go through a gun shop. So
yeah, no, what I was asking about whether it was federal was the domestic violence and restraining order thing. Map of Walmart stores in New Mexico. Let me see. I know there's a few. Here, let me screen share this.
If they're going to actions to stop all because of universal back, knowing that do universal back, they don't transfers for no reason. They don't. That's not a requirement of it. Backfire. The people that aren't paying, even maybe left-leaning guns and buy their stuff at Walmart. Could it be that when Walmart pulls all their guns, they say, "Wait a minute, these antis are going too far. Now Walmart's pulling guns. That's not needed because Walmart's not pulling AR-15s. They're pulling bolt actions and 22s, right?
Yeah, they're pulling everything.
Well, I mean, they just never had ARs and stuff, so they're pulling everything, even though the stuff that they're concerned about isn't even stuff they carry. Oh, yeah, there's a lot more than I thought. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, probably way over 20, 25.
There's quite a few in the Albuquerque area alone. Goodness. And let's see how many we got in Albuquerque.
My Walmart doesn't even sell guns.
Not even like the 22s and the bolt action or two?
Nope.
I've been to stores like that. Even in California, though, they sell ammo. Some of them.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, they sell ammunition.
14 in Albuquerque alone. 15, 16. Oh, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. What's over here in Santa Fe? 23, 24.
Oh, I know there's one in Las Vegas.
26,
it's the parking lot of that one.
28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Looks like there's 40, over 40. There's 42 at least in New Mexico.
Yeah, so then that's a lot of, that's a pretty big call too, because that means a whole bunch of departments are going to spend, you know, man hours to change their department around to pull the guns out, and then shipping back's probably no big deal, but yeah, that's a lot of revenue Walmart's going to be losing. A lot of customers.
Lots of potential revenue for the background checks, but then again, they don't want people. Well, I think the thing is they don't want people walking into their store with those types of guns that their employee. Well, they said that their employees aren't trained to handle and whatnot. I think they don't want the liability of that.
Yeah, but they don't have to do background checks. That's what I'm saying.
And that's the thing. Yeah.
Something like, well, we're not supposed to deal with submarines, or we're not equipped to deal with submarines, so we're, you know, like, who cares? No one asked you to deal with them. I
wonder if the universal background check law in New Mexico required all gun dealers to do that.
That would be interesting, and that would certainly be a weird overstep. I mean, more than an infraction, more than an infringement. That's like, it's beyond, above and beyond, right?
Yeah, because it would seem to me that the simplest policy would have been, instead of not selling firearms, to say, we're not going to conduct third-party background checks. Done.
Yep. Or even better, would you like us to? And then we'll figure out how we can charge for it. But, you know, as a company, as a service industry, you'd think they'd figure out first how to find out if the customers wanted it, not based off of what their opinion is or something.
Yeah. Or maybe set the maybe set the background check, have a background check station, because they could really do that anywhere with a phone line. Have that set somewhere in the lawn and garden section or something out by there in one of the outlying parts of the store where someone wouldn't have to walk in. I think there could have been ways around it. I don't know why they took that stance. That's interesting.
And wouldn't you think they could say, hey, stores, choose yourself or something? Like, if you want to do this, I guess, because it just seems so weird to just do it in New Mexico. I bet you it was something, like you said, that made them have to comply or something. Because it just makes no sense that they would do something that's not obligatory.
I think maybe I'll send them an email and ask and see if they'll respond. Probably not, but
I had an opportunity earlier in the week to go over to California, and I thought about it. It wasn't a free trip. It would have paid for like half the gas, but I seriously thought about it because of the change in laws over there with ammo. And I said, okay, that'd be kind of neat. But I would also be getting there just days after the thing went into effect. And as we're seeing, even though the law is in effect, they're not able to deal with it. So I figured, well, probably, it's not worth taking the trip for no reason, just because they're not going to really have anything to add other than we don't know what's going on, right? But now I kind of want to go to New Mexico and find out what's going on in New Mexico with their gun shop laws.
Mad Sexy out in the chat said that he just bought some 22 LR ammunition today. The DOJ lied. They do want to know who's buying, how much, what ammunition, what house it's at, and where you were born. So they want to know everything. Sounds like they want to create a an ammunition registration database, which would be a de facto firearms database then. Because if you've got ammunition, chances are you got firearms.
That would narrow down to, like, on your 4473, it just tells you if you got a long gun or a handgun. Well, that would put light on what caliber gun that you bought. So then, in essence, if they already have to register their guns in California. But I guess this would narrow down the point to, we know what you have now. We know how much ammunition you have for each firearm that you get. So that's pretty bad.
Isn't it also like they can only buy a box a month or something?
It's that whole thing's crazy. I feel bad for you guys out there in Cali. I mean, I hope that you can gain some ground back at some point. Maybe, I don't know. The problem is those giant major metropolitan areas that you have are just.
I think that's an advantage, though. They've got tourism, and then they've got industry, and their industry isn't California focused, right? It's not a bunch of only California stuff, and they desperately. I mean, they have a lot of international too. They've got international ports right there, so they're not completely susceptible. But we have influence. There's 49 other states that do business with them, and they are a big state and everything. But that's an advantage too, right? So I think as gun owners, as a section of the community that is aware as capitalists that we have influence. First, we've got families and friends and coworkers and stuff that work there. We could reach out on an individual basis. But then I think as a group, we've got ways that we can put pressure, financial, political, social pressure on the industries that are focused, that come out of California, especially when they've got so many. It's not like they're sitting pretty and then they're bad about guns. Like, they are failing all over the place, and then there's guns. So you would think that like Hollywood, who's competing with video games now, and then YouTube and every other option that's out there, they went from big money to tighter and being in competition. So you would think we'd have more influence. And if we started working together, pushing on a state like California, there's so many angles there. It's got to be easier than rally people to focus on, political pressure on New Jersey. Just because even everybody wanted to, there's just not that many people in New Jersey. But imagine if we did some sort of adopt a gun owner. I mean, there's 7 million gun owners in California. If we could all help them out somehow and give them each, I don't know, just do something like adopt a gun shop or something. Like, somehow we can all be part of California, like sister cities do, where a city here will adopt a city in some part of the world and then, do things together to help them out.
It's an interesting approach. Kingpin, glad you could join us, man. You have any thoughts on what we've talked about so far today?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of tech issues, so if it's bad, just go ahead and mute me.
It's okay.
You know, the hardest part about it is, and I guess it's just being naive, is understanding, like I've said before, I understand people who want to take things away from other people. You know, I get that there's bullies, there's power grabs and all that kind of stuff. But what I don't understand to this kind of stuff.
You kind of roboted there. What I think I've heard you say this before, is what you're trying to say, that you can understand the motivation behind wanting to take something from somebody to increase the power and whatnot. What you can't understand is the desire to willingly vote it away.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I don't get the mentality that would the proverbial trade freedom for safety, because really you end up having neither.
If you were never encouraged to be an individual and you were never given an opportunity to lead or fail or try, right? And then you've constantly been told that an authority knows better, that a collaboration or a group, a committee is always going to be smarter than any individual. And these people that are individualists are greedy, manipulative, seeking for their own gain and have no scruples or morals. Then that's, I think, how they do it. They get people that have never understood what it's like to be an individual or to strive towards that. They don't value or cherish that goal or that type of situation. So their fallback is a committee always knows better. Somebody who's an expert at this knows better than me. That's what I think.
I think that you are hitting the nail directly on the head. I think that's exactly how it happens, and it starts. It starts. Well, it starts from the second you're a kid, and it has been going on. Again, it's time to bust out the tinfoil and make a hat. But it starts from the stuff that the kids are watching on TV, moves into the stuff that they learn and are taught when they go into the schools. It's all throughout pop culture, movies, everything that is designed to get people to be, as Garand man out there says, we keep being taught to be good sheep. Absolutely right. I think it's deliberate. That's why we've had the infiltration in academia and the educational system to get people to this exact point, to get people to feel like they need to be dependent on big brother, need to be dependent upon the big brother, on the government, to take care of you in every aspect from cradle to grave, whether it be healthcare, financially, assistance with this, assistance with that, help with this, help with that. Learn everything that they want you to learn in their government schools, that the government decides what the curriculum is, what's taught, how it's taught, to what standards it's taught. Highly regulated every aspect of your life, and as you get older and you are accustomed to it, well, it's comforting to know that you don't have to make any decisions, that everything's being made for you and you're being taken care of by the government, and all that you need to do in return is surrender your free will, which you've never had because you've never been taught how to exercise it. That's a really good point, G.
Well, let me throw this at you then. I've been watching. You guys watch Freedom Tunes? That cartoon?
No.
Real quick cartoons are libertarian, political type of cartoons.
Freedom Tunes is awesome.
Yeah, man. I think because I watched a couple I watched one off of Patreon that he posted. It was really good, where it's somebody complaining about how the working class is suppressed as he goes from having a old-fashioned telephone and like a window to fancy cell phone and air conditioning, and air conditioning, and then in a fancy house where you don't even have to, what I'm trying to say, like the costs of running a very comfortable house are so low that it's almost everybody can have a comfortable house kind of thing. So, real quick perspective on all that. And he did one, the same kind of thing, where this guy has a pizza. Have you seen this one? He has a pizza, or he cooks a pizza in the machine, like a toaster oven, and he gets it. It comes out, and they share the pizza half and half. And then he goes, "Let's go make another one." Except I'm going to buy a bigger pizza oven, so that I can make a bigger pizza this time. So he buys a bigger pizza oven. He makes a big deep dish Chicago style pizza, and he goes, "I tell you what, since we got more pizza here, I'm going to keep 5 slices. You keep 4, or whatever the half and half was, and then I will keep an extra slice so that I can help pay off that machine I just bought." And the guy has a big fit and says, "No, I should get half. Half equality, half." And then he goes, "Well, look, this pizza is 3 times the size of the old pizza. So even though you're only getting 1 slice less than half, it's much more pizza than you had before." I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but that's the concept, right? While people are sitting around being told there's this massive difference in equality, look how rich the rich are, look how much money they have, look how much money they have. Nobody's taken a look at, like, look where you're complaining from. Look at the comfort and the gizmos and the health and the lack of crime, and just the compared to what it could be, compared to what it is just an hour south of me right now in Mexico. Like, it's amazing where we live, and people, yet they're going to look at what somebody else has, look up and go, "Oh, there's an equality difference here, and that's therefore a problem." And they're not aware, they're not taught anything, so they're able to be told this is as bad as, and pick a horrible atrocity that was a real atrocity where millions of people die, right? And they'll suggest that this is anything like that, like this situation in the United States is anything like something like that. But that can be sold when you're not aware, right? When you're not, if you don't go out and look for the facts or get no history, you don't know a grandma or great grandparent that was in one of these situations.
I can't think of any other time in history, and even modernly, very few places in the world where poor people are fat. We have them here.
Yeah, but it's also what we're eating now. We eat pretty much processed stuff that's designed for that. But
well, true.
Other thing.
But, poor people have, poor people on government assistance have cell phones, air conditioning, cable television, cars, internet, all this stuff that these luxury things that are really unnecessary, yet we still have them.
Well,
and
movies are available. Just watch them. Like, walk into the downtown and you can basically walk through every continent of the planet, just by walking through neighborhoods. Like, that kind of stuff is possible because of free market, right?
Go ahead.
I watched a video yesterday, and I forgot what channel it is, and shame on me for doing that, but walked around a college campus and asked the simple question, is the United States the greatest country? And the answers that I heard from these people were like, no, not really. We're not that great. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then why don't you go to a country that doesn't have running water at least? I mean, we live in the greatest country ever. I mean, look at the things that you're doing. You're right now, you're talking to a guy without getting drug off and stuck into some kind of cell and beaten half to death. I mean, how do these people not understand that they're living in one of the best societies that you could live in? Is it dangerous? Yes, but would you rather have dangerous freedom or no freedom at all? I'd rather have dangerous freedom. That's what I tell people.
Absolutely right.
Come on. And I think it boils down to they take the winds out of the sail of the communities more often than not. I think it's based on us living in these communities to depend on each other to make the place that you live better. But yet the government always comes in there and tries to give. And give when they can't give. And then on the backside of it, we have to pay that back. Nothing's for free from the government. I'm sorry to say.
No, never. Nothing.
Nothing.
There ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
No, there's not.
There's a price for everything.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to add before we move on?
What's frustrating is that people think that, they're just getting rid of our rights, or anybody that's pro 2A. How about it's the same right as yours as well as mine? It's the same right that you have, but you don't want to use it. And you think, oh, a gun right's a privilege? No, it's a right. I mean, if you want to talk about privileges, you can talk about vehicles, and now all vehicles have killed people more than firearms. It's ridiculous.
It's also not that dangerous. You know, I understand it. I make the point all the time. Would you rather have, you know, safe slavery or dangerous freedom? Give me dangerous freedom every time. But when you really look at it, this whole freedom thing, this individual, this American experiment has made the whole rest of the world safer.
Absolutely
And, you know,
right.
you were talking about that running water. The reason that there's running water in other countries is because America. Thank you. You're welcome. The reason why you can walk down your street and not get robbed, America, thank you. Because you start spreading freedom and personal responsibility and individuality and allow those things to flourish, and things get safer.
And also to add to that, people think a law is going to stop, from a person dying from any sort of death. No, a law is not going to stop morality or anybody that's going to commit death. Sorry, you're not going to play God and try to stop people from dying. You can't. Time flies forward, and you're not going to stop death. We're all born to die.
Absolutely right. Well, moving on, Madonna has been an activist for different causes for decades, all throughout her career, whether it be gay rights, AIDS awareness, literally putting her money where her mouth is and helping out the poor folks in Africa and orphans and whatnot over there. She's done a lot of good as far as that stuff. But in recent years, she has fully embraced the left lunacy. And, just recently put out a video called God Control. And during her video, she enacted what looked like a mass shooting in a nightclub. And, she kind of made some people angry about that one. And not who you would expect, people like us. She made even some anti-gunners angry. This is a story from Breitbart. Parkland shooting survivor Emma Gonzales. Madonna's God Control music video is effed up by Hannah Blue from July 1st, 2019. Parkland shooting survivor Emma Gonzales slammed to Madonna's controversial God Control music video, calling the depiction of the mass shooting effed up and horrible. So I've been ruminating on this thread for the past few days. Make sure I get the words right. Madonna's new video for her song God Control was effed up. It was horrible, Emma Gonzales said, berating Madonna for failing to post a trigger warning ahead of the shocking video's release. She should have sent out a message warning what her new video contained, especially to the Pulse victims, especially as it was released just after the anniversary on June 12th, Gonzales wrote. Gonzales continued to ream the pop icon, telling her 1.65 million followers that Madonna's video failed to properly contribute to conversations about the gun violence movement. The I Rise singer's video contains scenes eerily reminiscent of the tragic shooting that occurred at Orlando's Pulse nightclub in 2016, which resulted in 49 dead and 53 injured. Madonna says she made the video because she can't take it anymore and wants to draw attention to a crisis that needs to be addressed. The Parkland shooting survivor is not the only activist to speak out against the controversial video. Pulse shooting survivor Brandon Wolf said he appreciated the message Madonna was trying to convey, but questioned her careless methods. What I don't particularly appreciate, and the questions I have for Madonna, center around the timing, center around her not involving the Pulse community at all in this conversation, Wolf said, according to a video released by TMZ. She didn't acknowledge that it was Pulse that inspired the intro to this video. She didn't acknowledge that 49 people who died for that artistic inspiration, he continued. This is the same Madonna who, right after the Pulse shooting happened, posted a picture of herself kissing Britney Spears to honor the 49 victims who had lost their lives. I just question and wonder where Madonna's head is at, he added. I can tell you right where her head's shoved. Patience Carter, another Pulse shooting survivor, said the video was difficult to watch. I understand what she was trying to do with bringing awareness to the topic of gun control, but I definitely felt that wasn't the right way to go about doing it. So I have to pose this question. I've only watched parts of the video because I can't stomach it. Watching anti-gun stuff like that just generally tends to send my blood pressure skyrocketing. But what I saw, I felt was disgusting. I felt was nothing more than a shameless exploitation of the anniversary of the Pulse shooting to gain attention. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's genuine, or do you think that it's, Madonna is constantly, she is the queen of reinventing herself. Every few years she catches the train to latch on to something that's relevant and to reinvigorate her career. Do you guys think that that may be what's happening here? And this is just open to the panel. Feel free to respond.
No, I don't think she does things that are like, she comes down and does only things that are good. She comes down and does dumb things too. She just does things, and she's got enough money to sit and wait. She doesn't have to do everything all the time anymore like she did when she was younger. So she just sits around and does things when she feels like it. I'm watching it now. It starts off with Madam X, like being typed, and then God control. So don't overlook that there's another agenda here besides gun control. And then it says the story you're about to see is very disturbing. It shows graphic scenes of, and then of course it has to use the engineered phrase gun violence, right? And then it'll say, it'll go to black, and then it'll come back and say, but it's happening every day. So that's a lie. That's a falsehood. It's a manipulation. And there's more than one thing going on here. Yeah, it was 100% scheduled or whatever to come out on the anniversary so she could get the ultimate most out of it. It can't suggest that like gun manufacturers are out to exploit tragedy or out to exploit these situations, that media is out to exploit these situations. Artists are too. And just like there's going to be people that'll write books about it, there's going to be people that'll make a movie about it or a documentary about it. Some of it is to exploit the thing. Some of it is to, memorialize the thing. So there's potentially she's memorializing it. Maybe she's a singer. This is her way of memorializing it, perhaps. But art is designed to poke and be weird and be uncomfortable, and be super pleasant, and then be comforting. It's art, so it can be everything, and it's supposed to be a little bit everything. I wouldn't give it any more than it's worth, and I think it's either engineered to be anti-gun, right? Or she's just singing about anti-gun because she thinks that's what's playing right now. But I don't know. It's only been out for days.
Yeah, it hasn't been out very long.
Been out for days, and it has 4 million views. That might seem like a lot, but in a world, does that seem like a lot for Madonna? I'm pretty much sure everybody knows about Madonna since the 1980s, and the thing's been out for days already, and it's got 150,000 thumbs up, 20,000 thumbs down. That's on her actual web page, like her YouTube video and stuff. She only has 3 million subscribers. Hickok has more subscribers than her. So how relevant can she possibly be in the big scheme of things?
Ooh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Hickok has more subscribers than Madonna. Who would have ever thought that?
Doesn't he have 4 million?
Yeah. Maybe this is nothing more than a desperate attempt to gain relevancy.
Well, she's an artist. She's allowed to be an artist. And like I say, you can be whatever you want to be as an artist, right? But you don't have to give it any more weight than it is. Just a piece of art. It's a song. And like I say, it's either engineered to be anti, but there's more than just gun control going on there. She didn't call it God control for no reason.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Or people are making attention about the gun part of it. There's something subtle going on there that's also being distributed.
You're absolutely right. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Form your own opinion. I'm not going to watch the video because I saw enough to be disgusted, and
it's just dumb. It doesn't even, I can't imagine the song's any good, so I just thumbed through it, and it definitely looks like pandering or manipulation or some kind of weird mix of both.
Yep, and I think that's it. It's pandering and manipulation combined. That's my take on it, anyways. I kind of agree.
Yeah, so 45, 4.2 million. Madonna, popular since the 80s as a singer, 3.1 million.
Wow. Hey, I'd like to thank the person out there somewhere in YouTube land who gave me the thumbs down. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I love the engagement. It's great because, you know, engagement isn't great engagement. So keep it up. Thumb down every video I do. That would be awesome.
So all right, I'm looking at this video, right? So
my condolences.
So there's a scenes where there's church. Now, out of everything that she's talking about in this video, because I'm looking up the lyrics too, why isn't she condemning the church? The church has a huge role to play in society, and they have been playing it really well here lately, or over the course several years now. And then she kisses another girl, which the church doesn't condone. Me and Cindy couldn't get married at the church, so we had to get a refund because we have kids out of wedlock. So why isn't she damning this church that she's got in the video? If she's talking about equality and all this stuff about firearms and, you know, why should somebody get a gun? Why isn't she condemning this church that she's got in there that won't marry someone because they have children out of wedlock?
To be fair, Madonna has taken shots at the Catholic Church for decades. To be fair.
Then why is she still symbolizing it when the church doesn't recognize it?
Because it pisses them off.
Madonna is definitely no fan of any kind of Christianity in any way, shape, or form. She hasn't been in her whole career, and the church has been under attack for 100 years. So that's why the church has no power anymore, is because the I don't know, the people who want to protest churches have been very effective at protesting churches and taking down statues and removing the word God from everything. So it's hardly the church's fault.
It just behooves me that these movie stars, athletes, people of that stature have the right to impose their will on what I want to do in my life. And then try and make a video like this and then say, well, it's got to stop. Yeah, it'll stop. It'll stop when you start letting people carry guns in churches like this video, or in nightclubs, or, you know, have armed security there. Something to deter people from gun-free zones. Gun-free zones are a fallacy. And why does she make a video about gun-free zones, how they're a fallacy? Shake your butt on that, lady. Don't be coming here. I'm reading some of these lyrics, and it's just pandering. It's just, oh, look, I'm trying to do something, make myself relevant again, where I haven't done anything, you know, relevant in years past.
Maybe she is just playing, you know, doing what she thinks is going to play well.
She needs a paycheck. She needs a paycheck. All these rich people live beyond their means, and they abuse it. So she's probably broke or needs to pay a car payment or something.
But on the other hand, if she can get people to pay her for this, hey, more power to her. You know, that's whether we agree with her message or not, that is America. If you can get someone to pay you for it, more power to you. And if you can get someone to pay you well for it, absolutely more power to you, as long as it's legal.
Well, and if I haven't watched the whole thing either, but it's not good, and it certainly isn't intriguing. So if they put all this effort into saying, here's the message for our side, and then they all cheer behind it, this is the message for our side, wouldn't that be great if the whole big message for their side is sort of lukewarm, if even it's not even all that useful and it's not good? Like, that'd be great if they want to put all their cards in this basket or whatever.
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah,
I'd like to add something.
Go ahead.
Speaking about what Rocall said about gun-free zones, another thing to add to that, you know, we see all these signs that are put up, you know, saying, oh, you can't bring a pistol here, you can't bring this over here. Oh, you think that's bad? How about when we bring back the time of segregation? I mean, in my opinion, gun-free zones are basically being a racial thing right there. It's like you're being a racial thing against people owning firearms.
Yeah, it's segregation for gun owners. I'd never thought of it that way, but it sure seems like it.
One of the bigger problems that we have in this whole radical situation that we're in is, and you can see Madonna showed it. She thought that this was going to be a slam dunk and everybody was going to jump on her side. And who jumped on her? Who jumped on her throat first? Her side.
Yeah, that's
look,
what I think is the funniest part about it.
Look a couple years back when Antifa and Black Lives Matter got started. The very first time they got in the same place at the same time, they fought each other. And now they hate each other. So the left will destroy themselves. The problem with that is everybody who's normal and cares about stuff and has families and property and, morals, we're stuck in the middle and we're going to have to clean up their mess while they destroy themselves. We're their target, but make no bones about it. They are their targets too.
Yeah,
there is no such thing as this left wing or Democrat or liberal unity that people think that they have, because you see it on the news, because the news are controlled by them. They hate each other just as much as they hate us, and it's only a matter of time before it shows up. The problem is we're going to be the ones here to clean up the mess.
Yep. I agree. Philo says he'll take the gun that she won't buy. Yeah, I agree with you. I will too. Matter of fact, I'll take 2 of them. Next up, the last but certainly not least story of the main stories, I want to show video of something that happened just down the street from me, figuratively speaking. It's about maybe 20 miles away in Sugarcreek, Ohio. It illustrates a couple things. Number one, policing is a dangerous job. Number two, situations happen really fast. And if you are concerned with defending yourself and are concerned with your safety and recognize that you're responsible for it, you have to be on the lookout for what they call pre-incident indicators. And next, somebody with a knife or other stabbing weapon or even an impact weapon can cover distance and get to you a lot faster than you think. This is, again, the articles from AWR Hawkins here from Breitbart. Says, watch, man allegedly stabs officer with screwdriver, gets shot dead. Body cam video from a Sugarcreek, Ohio officer shows a truck driver allegedly stabbed the officer with a screwdriver before being shot dead. The incident occurred on Wednesday, and the video was released the next day. This is from June 29th. Cleveland 19 reports that the officer, Captain Brian Dalton, was allegedly attacked with a screwdriver around 10 a.m. There ain't no alleged about it. He was. Dalton came into contact with the suspect, 32-year-old Elijah Collins III, while responding to reports of a truck being driven through lawns. Dalton handed Collins a citation and told him he would have to appear in municipal court. Collins allegedly responded by grabbing a screwdriver and stabbing Dalton in the neck. The Daily Mail reports that Dalton shot and killed Collins after being stabbed. Dalton remains in ICU, but his condition is improving. So let me go ahead and share this. We will watch this. It cuts off right before, well, it doesn't cut off. The screen goes white right before as the shots are being fired. So you don't have to worry about seeing that. But pay close attention to this individual in the talk leading up to him stabbing the officer. There are some things that you need to look for with people as far as facial expression, body language, whatnot, that can warn you if something's about to happen. No, that is not the one I want to see. Come on now. Let me refresh this.
Play that one at the top there with the,
Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Is this the Madonna video?
No, this is not the Madonna video.
Hey, sir. Vegetables back. Your ID. Hey, I received a citation today for the no through truck zone. You follow the prompts on that form. Say how you can take care of it. You still ask for your social security. You don't know it? Okay. You have a number you could be reached at? No? Okay, you are receiving a summons today for criminal mischief. I will need a signature at the bottom here. It's just acknowledgement. Oh, it's not an admission to guilt, just acknowledgement receipt. Okay.
Look at facial expression during the whole thing. This guy is obviously agitated and upset. So, you know, that's one of the things you need to pay attention to. Body language, facial expression, whatnot.
They will have to make a mandatory court appearance at New Philly Muni Court, July 3rd at 1 p.m.
Right there, definitely a change. And then the reach.
So this idiot is filming himself assaulting a cop?
Yes, this idiot was filming while he did this. And he turned a stinking ticket into an aggravated assault and attempted murder charge. Well, had he survived anyway. Actually, he turned it into a coffin.
He's obviously not thinking correctly. He's either whacked out or delusional somehow, and then that probably thought of that as something else, or out of perspective, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he took it from zero, from something that's really nothing, just a stupid misdemeanor, to death.
But there was just nothing about the interaction or the conversation, nothing about that guy's body language that would have indicated he was about to snap. And then he just snapped, and that wasn't like...
You didn't think so? You didn't think there was anything that indicated he was about to snap?
I mean, maybe because it was looking through a video through the computer, but no, I mean, it just looked like he was reading it. He was being weird. I mean, people are weird all the time. Going to ride along, people are all kinds of weird when they're being pulled over. Some people are offended. Some people are embarrassed. Some people are pissed off. Some people are just so embarrassed and scared. Like, people are weird when they're being pulled over by the authorities. So it just seemed kind of like, like, okay, I'm super scrutinizing this ticket, but then to go from like kind of he just set down, I don't know what he did with the phone, he set down the ticket and grabbed a screwdriver and then tried to kill a guy.
To me,
0 to 100.
And maybe it's because of what I do for a living and I'm hyper aware of things like this. But to me, he telegraphed that he was about to flip. When you look at the facial expression, you look at how wide his eyes got just before he set the ticket down and is about to reach for that screwdriver. To me, the facial expression, the body language, he got real tense right at that second. To me, that it screamed, this guy's about to flip. Those are the kind of things I watch for whenever I'm dealing with an inmate that lets me know that they're about to go off, especially when he started to reach for something. The minute someone starts to reach for something, coupled with that facial expression and body language and tenseness, that's a hint that something's about to go down. But one thing that this also illustrates is the quickness with which things can go sideways. And that's I think is what most people are going to perceive. What you said, in 1 second he's looking at the ticket, the next second he's getting all stabbity.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand, like, if he's in a room and he sort of starts brooding, and then he's getting angrier, and he's telling himself there's no other way, and then he's strategizing, and then he sees the screwdriver, and then he's fixated, and then, like, I could see him going through all that, but this guy seemed to go from, like, perplexed to killer, and, like, however long it took him to climb down out of his truck. But the police officer did get stabbed by a grown dude jabbing him in the neck with a screwdriver. I mean, that could hurt bone and nerves and blood, everything bad there.
Yeah, as far as I know, Captain Dalton's still in the hospital up at Akron General, which is a good hospital. It's a lot better than the one in New Philly which would have been the closest. So I'm glad to see that he got shipped up there.
I mean, I can't imagine getting stabbed by any kind of screwdriver is good. That's got to be a pretty horrible wound, cut, damage. Everything's got to be pretty bad from that.
Oh yeah, because it's, relatively speaking, is for a stabbing implement, it's awful blunt. That's going to do a lot of ripping and tearing. That's going to be hard to repair.
And then it's like 6 inches long anywhere up that area. It's not good. I mean, hopefully it was just something like bounce off a collarbone and require stitches, but
yeah, I'm hoping that the officer makes a full recovery from that. That's pretty horrible.
So I'm never a fan of looking at stuff like this because we live in a country of 360 million people. There are, conservatively, 40,000, 36,000 firearms related deaths, including every possible way that a person can get killed by suicide, killed including suicide.
Yeah.
Go 1 hour south of me, and it's more like 46,000 that are known, and who knows how many cartel things happen out in the jungles where there's no one to talk about it.
Yep.
So I just look at it like if you were to just talk about these things once a week, it would seem like it's happening constantly because we're putting attention to it. So I'm just never, and I'm not a fan of ignoring things and putting your head in the sand either. But at the same time, I just, I've never found I don't go seeking that kind of stuff. But my question is, because I know that you look at that kind of stuff more often as an instructor, you kind of have to, because it can be a good way to get it through to people. But anyway, without getting too far into that, how often do these things come by and follow up, like 6 months later? Like, here's what the results were. I often see, like, here's a horrible thing that happened. Like, let's exploit it. Not exploit it, but let's look at just the worst part of it. And then let's move on and look at just the worst part of this one. And then let's move on and look at just the worst part of this one. But
it's rare. It's rare that you find the follow-up unless you go looking for it.
Because I would think the follow-ups could be really interesting, like to see why that guy was like that or what this was. Because so often it could, you think, oh, they kind of leave it sometimes. And I don't know if is it irresponsible sometimes for media to say, here's a horrible thing that happened. Okay, here's another horrible thing. Just go on to the next thing. But they don't follow up and say, like, and this was due to dementia. This was due to, a buildup of aluminum, So here's the indications that could have told you that this guy was going to do it. Or maybe, this guy was breathing fumes in the truck, it turned out. So he wasn't a bad guy. He was a nice guy. We're all left with this guy being a crazy. Maybe he was low on blood sugar. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for a killer or nothing. I'm just saying, like, it would be, I think, insightful to see some of the follow-ups on some of these things. What happened a year later, or what were the reasons of it?
Yeah. The problem is you have to go looking for it. Unfortunately, the news outlets that broadcast things like this, they generally don't do the follow-up. You might get something local. That's why I say you have to look for it. Me being local to this story, I can keep I'm better able to keep tabs on it than I would something that's somewhere else.
More than likely they'll follow up with how the police officer is doing, right? Rather than you kind of like details on here's how the conclusion was of why that guy was crazy.
Yeah, that would be how it would happen. And I'll keep my eye open for it because it's semi-local to me. But yeah. Moving on from From this, though, we will go into something a little bit more happy. We'll move to Roll Call's favorite segment, the self-defense shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or who have not stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I am reveling in the death or injury of the bad guy. It is, in fact, where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to defend themselves against the bad guy. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, no. Oh, I might have a problem here. Because why am I getting my main stories on that and not my shout-outs? Okay. I sent my stuff. I emailed my stuff to myself here. And okay, here we go. Whew. For a second, I thought it was all going to be bad. And I wouldn't be able to find... God darn it. I did lose one of my stories. So hold on a second. I'll get to it. I'm just going to have to get it right from the stinking horse's mouth for one of them. So let me follow this back. Technical difficulties. Pretend I'm playing elevator music or something right now. Roll call. You want to give me some elevator music?
28 people watching. Only 20.
Okay. All right. I do have one of them. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your musical stylings there. Roll call. He'll be here all night. Go ahead and don't forget to tip him and tip your waitress. First off, from Lucerne Valley by KABC by Rob. Let me get this guy's name. Rob McMillan from Wednesday, June 26th. Lucerne Valley woman shoots, kills intruder found inside her home. Authorities say a woman fatally shot an intruder inside her home in Lucerne Valley early Tuesday morning. San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies responded to a residence in a 35,000 block of Harvest Moon Street around 12:28 p.m. for the report of the shooting. Deputies found the suspect, identified as 32-year-old Shay Manigault, suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. He was pronounced deceased at the scene. The victim told deputies that she was... You know what? I'm very glad that this article phrased it that way. A lot of times they would phrase the decedent, the bad guy who was shot, as the victim. They are instead rephrasing the actual victim as the victim. So good for them. Anyway, deputies found the victim told deputies that she was asleep in her home when she heard her dog barking. The victim went to a bedroom where she found the suspect hiding. She then yelled at the suspect, telling him that he did not belong in her home, according to the sheriff's department. She then went to the living room, grabbed a gun, and shot the suspect once after he approached her. The man came and followed her and started coming after her and asked her, "Is your husband here?" said Robert Martin, a nephew of the 77-year-old victim. "My aunt feared for her life, and she shot the poor guy." The alleged intruder, identified as Shay Manigault, was pronounced dead. An investigation revealed that the suspect forced his way into the home prior to the victim finding him in the bedroom. The victim has not been arrested, officials said. Martin said that the man's family members have been showing up at the home demanding answers. She feels like she's a prisoner in her own home, and she's afraid to actually leave her home, Martin said. John Manigault is the intruder's father. He said he doesn't know why his son would be in the home, but now his son is dead and his 4 grandchildren will suffer too. She knows she was justified. She knows she was defending her life in her home, but she still feels terrible, Martin said. The case will be sent to the San Bernardino District Attorney's Office for review. What they should be sending to the District Attorney's Office is menacing and stalking charges against the bad guy's family. I suspect that if they pursue that any further, that we might be reading a story about one of them too. And last but certainly not least, this is from WCVB 5. Police: armed dad stops man from stealing truck with 10-year-old son inside, by Alex Schumann. Des Moines, Iowa. A Des Moines dad stopped a wanted man from stealing his truck while his 10-year-old son was in the passenger seat, according to police. Brad Ratkovich said he went into his garage before leaving for a fishing trip around 5 a.m. Wednesday and spotted a man, later identified as Stephen Wayne 6, trying to break into his truck. He's kind of down low, goes to pull up, looks in, and sees my son, Ratkovich said. I come around the corner without any hesitation from my alien gear holster, pulled pulled and told him to get on the ground. Ratkovich pointed his gun the moment he spotted Six trying to get inside his pickup truck. His son, Logan, said he locked the truck's doors when he saw Six coming toward the driveway from across the street. He was walking exactly to me, Logan said. I locked the doors when he was just entering the driveway, and my dad came from inside the garage and defended me with his gun. Ratkovich said Six claimed the men knew each other after he pulled the gun. He's like, hey, I'm Steve. Don't you remember me? I'm Steve, Ratkovich said. And I was like, dude, I've never met you in my entire life. Ratkovich said he told Six to get on the ground. He did get on the ground. Then he got back up. Then he got back down, he said. He tried to escape at one point. He came at me multiple times where I could have then defended myself with my firearm. While the response time was only minutes, Ratkovich said it felt like hours waiting for the police to show up. His iPhone automatically calls 911 after pressing the side button 5 times. Police has a long criminal history and that Ratkovich handled the situation well. The privilege of carrying a handgun comes with a lot of responsibility, Des Moines Police Sergeant Paul Perazek said. That's where the police department always puts their emphasis, and Ratkovich checked all the boxes. I would say, this is me editorializing here, I would say that Sergeant Paul Perazek needs to get some refresher on the Constitution, because carrying a handgun is not a privilege. It is a right. Anyway, did a burglary in the past and was wanted for walking away while on work release. Ratkovich said he and his son went fishing after they finished with the police, but caught nothing more than a small bluegill. I would say, sir, that that day you caught something far, far better than that. You caught a bad guy before he made off with your son, and you know that's what the carrying a concealed weapon is all about. So there you have it, folks. There are 2 instances from this past week where, despite what NPR and the rest of the gun grabbers would have you believe, the good guy with the gun did, in fact, stop a bad guy. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody on the panel who came by tonight. It's good to see you guys. I'm very thankful that you decided to spend the time with me. Let's go ahead and go through it and let you guys give your plugs. G, is there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with, sir? Anything you'd like to plug?
Individual freedom and liberty. Thanks for having a show. Thanks for everybody participating, and happy 4th.
Hey, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it. Kingpin, anything you want to leave us with, sir?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Really loved the show and proud to be a part of the panel when I can, so thanks a lot.
Roll call.
Thanks for having me, man. Great time, great show. Go out there and subscribe to the Budget Guns and Gear.
Why, thank you, sir. Warsaw, anything you'd like to leave us with?
First, thank you for having me on. Great time, great discussion, and also just great topics we talked about, and also about what's been going on.
Well, there you have it, folks. Be sure to go check out the channels of everybody here on the panel. If you haven't already, you really should. They all have some good things going for them. So check it out. G-Webs is the fellow that runs gun channels that I talked about earlier. Remember, water cooler, the internet's Second Amendment community, absolutely free to join, 24/7, 365. You can find someone to talk with and something to talk about over there. So make sure you check it out. As always, I want to thank all of you out there in the chat for coming and spending an hour and 20 minutes listening to me blather on. I'm always humbled and amazed that that so many of you want to spend so much time with us having this conversation. I very, very deeply appreciate it. This this show is nothing and pointless without you. As always, I'd like to leave you with the admonition to, in these dangerous political times, make sure that you contact your Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know what's going on. Let them know what you think about the proposed lunacy that they generally have in mind, and how they shouldn't do it. So, be sure to telephone, telegraph, snail mail, email, carrier pigeon, bicycle messengers, hemaphore, heliograph, smoke signals, signal drums. Do whatever you have to do to contact them and let you know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. See you guys on the next one.